And now to discuss this, I am joined by the Managing Director, Idfon Power Generating Engineering Consultants, that is Idowu Oyebanjo, and he will be talking to us more about this. Idowu Oyebanjo, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
So, despite what Nigerians are going through, why do you think the increase in tariff is something that the Nigerian government should be considering as of now?
Thank you very much for that question. The federal government of Nigeria, as we have just heard from the Honorable Minister of Power, has taken a decision to reduce subsidy. But to ensure that this subsidy removal, partial subsidy removal, I must say, does not have significant debilitating and devastating impact on what is already a bad situation, making it worse. Therefore, it is important to understand why this step was necessary, what has led to the step, and thus we will be able to put mitigating measures to make sure that it does not leave Nigerian consumers worse off. So why did this happen? Over 2 trillion naira will be used this year to subsidize electricity tariffs. And the reason why subsidy is there is the same reason for which subsidy is there for the oil sector that was removed earlier on. So electricity is supplied through the distribution companies to Nigerians, but the aggregate technical collection and commercial losses, which we call the ATC and C losses, are humongous. They're so huge. They are 50% in value, which means for every 1 megawatt of electricity that is sent to discos, only 50% comes back. So only 4.5 megawatt comes back. What this means is a very huge loss, it's unbelievable, it's unfathomable, and it is actually due to inefficiencies. Government has been subsidizing these inefficiencies but can no longer go on. But if you remember the Pareto principle, where the 80 to 20 principle, 20% of the people will provide the output that will ameliorate or even provide support for the rest of the system. So by application of that, what has been done is to look for customers who are on what we call the band A feeders. And these customers are the eyebrow feeders. They are manufacturing industries. They are people who consume high volume of energy. They have the wherewithal to pay, not all of them,
Okay.
but majority. Now, what needs to be done is to ensure that all the other customers are not made worse off by this strategy. And this requires technical capacity, competence, and some ability. Thank you.
Okay, so in all that you've said, for the ordinary Nigerian, they'll be looking at if this new policy of government would lead to an improved power sector and power supply to businesses and households, and of course to boost the economy. Do you think that this policy will help achieve this for the Nigerian citizens?
If well implemented, and by that I mean if competence and meritocracy is celebrated, it is very easy to implement this concept. And I will tell you how. So before yesterday, before this order became law on the 3rd of April, Nigeria has an installed capacity of generation of up to 13,000 megawatts. I am not saying that the 13,000 megawatt is fully available, but a stress test was conducted last year in Nigeria. And this stress test is to demonstrate how much of this capacity can be available if we need them today. Now, the amount of power that is getting to consumers today is about 3,500. So look at those two numbers, 3,500 from 13,000. You have a gap. You have about 9,500 or even more that can be given to other people. So all that will be required is to make sure that the 3,500 that everyone has been sharing from band A to E is now given to bands B to E, the rest of us who are not on band A feeders. So it means the rest of us on band B to E will have even increased amount of power if this is implemented properly. So that rather than having 3,500 for consumers, we should be moving steadily to 5,000 to 7,000 megawatts, which will be the difference that is being given to those who can pay for the premium power, and then the power sector will continue to grow and have liquidity. This can only happen if those who are in charge of the implementation know exactly how we do feeder reconfiguration, network monitoring, not ordinary monitoring. You've got to monitor up to the consumers, and there are strategies for doing this so that Nigerians will not be worse off from this policy.
Before I let you go, does it mean that the handlers of the power sector and its value chain may not be competent enough to understand the mechanism or how it works? Because you keep hammering on the issue of if it is implemented properly. So is that a challenge as regards implementation and the personnel handling it that we may need to look into to optimize that area if we are hoping to achieve more in this new change and, of course, increase the power supply, of course, to the people?
Yeah, power system everywhere in the world is highly technical. So, and you need data to be able to run a power system. As of now, we don't have adequate data that is verifiable, transparent, and reliable. As a result, it is not easy to stay at one point and look at what is happening all over the world. So all over the country, rather. So what needs to be done is not only to look at feeder metering, which is what is obtainable today. There is need to peruse or look into the remote ends of the feeders that goes to the customers. Of course, Nigeria is blessed with competent engineers and competent people in charge of the power system, but implementation has always been the problem historically, and this has to do with thinking through things and making sure we have the square pegs and square holes in the right places.
Okay, Idowu Oyebanjo, thank you so much for talking to us.
You're welcome.